සංසාර සාරෝග විනීතනිසං සන්නේත සාතං සුචිසාරදේශං සන්දේරකං සොන්න තනුපලාසං සංලාපදේසින් පනමේ විසාසං නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. Homage to the Exalted One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Samadhiṃ bhikkhave bhāveta samāhito bhikkhave bhikkhu yatha bhūtaṃ pajānāti. Venerable sirs, bhikkhunis, friends in the Dhamma, we are in the retreat named the Noble Eightfold Path, conducted by the Bhāvanā Society. We are gradually coming to the last part of the path, Samadhi, Sammāsamādhi. We have been discussing the 8 steps of the Noble Path explained by the Supreme Buddha. It starts with Sammādiṭṭhi, right understanding. Right understanding is divided into mundane level and supra-mundane level. Mundane level means, with the understanding of the karmic law, we cultivate these qualities, focusing on our happiness and blissful life. The supra-mundane level right understanding based on Paṭisamuppada or the Four Noble Truths. There we can see 3 things together: Paṭisamuppada, Pañca Upādānakkhandha, and Four Noble Truths. The divine origination, 5 aggregates, and Four Noble Truths. These 3 things are interrelated on the path of liberation, for getting rid of suffering completely. The more we understand the divine origination, the more we understand the Four Noble Truths and 5 aggregates as well. The first truth of suffering is that understanding the 5 aggregates. Sankirtena pañca upādānakkhandha dukkha. And also, Samudaya Satya and Magga Satya explains the Paṭisamuppada. Samudaya Satya and Nirodha Satya explains the Paṭisamuppada. How is that? Avidya paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya viññāna, viññāna paccaya nama rūpa, and so on. This is the ascending order of the Paṭisamuppada. Samudaya Satya, the origin of the noble truth of suffering. And the Nirodha Satya, avidyāyatveva asesa viraga nirodha sankhara nirodho, so on, with the complete cessation of ignorance, mental formations cease. That is the descending order of Paṭisamuppada. Avidyāyatveva asesa viraga nirodha sankhara nirodho, sankhara nirodha nama rūpa nirodho, so on. That is why we say the Noble Eightfold Path, the Paṭisamuppada or the divine origination, and the 5 aggregates are interrelated. As a result of this understanding, we find the path, the Noble Eightfold Path. With this understanding, right understanding, we have intention in order to go forward on this path. That is Sammāsamādhi, right intention. With this understanding, immediately we come to discipline in our speech and behavior. Samma vaca, right speech, right action, samma kammanta, and samma ajiva, right livelihood. These three things belong to sila or virtue. When we come to this level, we are afraid of doing any slight wrong conduct. Anumattesu vajjesu bindasari. Since our dream is spiritual, our dream is very pure. We do everything purifying our minds. Purification of our mind is the goal in our spiritual life. Therefore, we don't like to disturb our peace of mind, even because of our children or our physical body. That is sila. Samma vaca, samma kammanta, samma ajiva. It explains in Karanimettā Sutta, in Khuddaka Nikāya or Sutta Nipāta, naca kuddha samācare kiñci, yena viñño pariyopadeyyo. We don't do any slight wrong conduct which is concerned by the wise. By the wise. Don't forget it. Even though we practice some spiritual qualities, some people may blame us. Why stupid? It doesn't matter. But we should be very careful whether wise people blame us. That is very important. Who know the Dhamma. With this discipline in our speech and behavior, especially here we practice samma ajiva, right livelihood. We earn any sense righteously, honestly. That is very important. We work hard doing our activities honestly, we earn our expenses. And also next we come to the Samadhi level. Samma vayama, samma sati, and Sammāsamādhi. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These three things belong to Samadhi Khanda, the step of Samadhi. When we start our spiritual journey with this understanding, we start our happy life. The noble Eightfold path is the path of happiness. That happiness is in this present moment, not in the future. When we do our other activities, our happiness is in the future, after we fulfill something. But that happiness never comes. That is why it says, Uno loko atito tanha daso. People are living without satisfaction. They are unsatisfied until they come to last bed. They have a lot of wishes. But when we come to the Dhamma, practicing sila, samadhi and paññā, as soon as we come to the Dhamma, we start our happy life. Until we come to the real Dhamma, we are seeking happiness, we are not enjoying happiness. When we come to the Dhamma, we start to enjoy our life spiritually. That is not the sensual pleasure. It completely depends on our mental development, mental culture, spiritual happiness. Here we discuss Sammāsamādhi. When we practice Samma Vayama, right effort and right mindfulness based on Samadhi, right understanding, we gradually concentrate our mind using some meditation techniques. There are 40 meditation techniques uttered by the Blessed One as Samatha Bhāvanā, such as Ānāpānasathi Bhāvanā, breathing meditation, Buddhanusati, the contemplation of the qualities of the Buddha, Metta Bhāvanā, loving kindness meditation, Dhātu Manasikara, the contemplation of four fundamental elements. These are the meditation techniques that help us to concentrate our mind in the present moment. By using these meditation techniques, we gradually concentrate our mind, purifying our mind from hindrances, 5 hindrances, Panchanivar. The Buddha says in the Bhikkhu Sutta or Samadhi Sutta, Samadhi bhikkhave bhaveta, O monks, practice concentration. Samahito bhikkhave bhikkhu yatha bhutam pajanati. He who concentrates his mind sees the world reality as it is. When we concentrate our mind, immediately we look at the truth. What is the truth? The Four Noble Truth that we have already heard with the association of the good friendship. If we haven't heard the noble message, Four Noble Truths, the divine origination of 5 aggregates, we stop in the concentration. When Buddha appeared in this world, there were a lot of people who cultivated their mind with concentration. They had stopped in concentration. No progress. Having jhana, they were planning to go to Brahma realms. That is their final purpose. But the disciple of the Buddha is not like that. He starts the spiritual path, Sila, Samadhi and Panya, with the understanding of the Four Noble Truths by listening to this message. He knows very well how suffering arises and how suffering ceases. Whenever we are ignorant, whenever we think that there is a material world around us at this moment, when we understand it, he knows very well he is in the samsaric circle. If he knows that when he understands something through his senses, the first experience has already ceased. He understands everything through his mind consciousness. When mind consciousness works, he knows very well the first experience has already ceased. Then he doesn't depend on the material world. He gradually overcomes suffering. He started this spiritual journey with this understanding. As soon as he concentrates his mind, he reflects on this reality. His virtue or sila focuses on Samadhi. Samadhi Samvatkanika sila or Aryakanta sila. That virtue is appreciated by the noble ones. And also that Samadhi. When he comes to Samadhi, he doesn't stop in Samadhi. He has another goal, which is Panya. That Panya helps Vimukti and Vimukti Jnana. Samadhi means using some meditation techniques, we concentrate our mind in the present moment based on mindfulness. Again and again we think some positive thoughts, wholesome thoughts such as Metta Bhāvanā, Ānāpānasati, Dhātu Manasikara, Buddhanusati, so on. As a result of practicing this path, we are able to overcome hindrances gradually. Then the positive thoughts such as joy, rapture, happiness, these positive thoughts gradually increase. Now he has a spiritual life, happy life based on Samadhi. With this Samadhi mind, he can concentrate his mind, he can cultivate his mind with wisdom. That is the purpose of Samadhi. Samadhi in Buddhism especially divided into four in the Rūpāvachara level. The very first one, secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from unwholesome states, the practitioner enters and dwells in the first jhana, which is accompanied by thought and examination, with rapture and happiness born of seclusion. Now his happiness is spiritual happiness. Now he is thinking about his meditation object, such as metta, bhavana, anapanasati. Now his concentration based on his samadhi object. That is why we say vitakka vichara, accompanied by thought and examination. And also he receives rapture and happiness born of seclusion. This is the nature of the first jhana. And again he concentrates his mind. As a result of this practice, he can go to the second level. With the subsiding of thought and examination, he enters and dwells in the second jhana, which has internal confidence and unification of mind, is without thought and examination, and has rapture and happiness born of concentration. Now his meditation object gradually goes to down, and his piti and rapture, piti or rapture and joy cultivate. This is the nature of the second jhana. And again he concentrates his mind using these techniques. Now especially in this level, as a disciple of the Buddha, he uses ānāpānasati bhāvanā or four sublime states. When he go to the deeper level, he practices upekkha bhāvanā and ānāpānasati bhāvanā. With the fading away as well of rapture, he dwells equanimous and mindful and clearly comprehending. He experiences happiness with the body. He enters and dwells in the third jhana, of which the noble ones declare he is equanimous, mindful, one who dwells happily. He gradually goes to the deeper level with this experience. Again and again he cultivates his mind. Some jhana facts are going away gradually. He smoothly comes to the equanimity in the fourth level, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous passing away of joy and displeasure. He enters and dwells in the fourth jhana, which is neither painful nor pleasant, and includes the purification of mindfulness by equanimity. Ayam uccati bhikkhave Sammāsamādhi. This is called right concentration. Here it is very important to understand. He starts this spiritual journey with a meditation object, such as contemplating on thus may all beings be well, happy and peaceful. Gradually, he overcomes this object and he goes to the samadhi level again and again. And very special thing, he can practice samatha bhavana in any step of these four jhana levels. When he come to first jhana, after he come into first jhana, overcoming the first jhana, coming to the normal level, based on his concentration, he can reflect on impermanence. I is impermanent, forms are impermanent, I consciousness is impermanent, eye contact is impermanent, so on. Mentality and corporeality are impermanent, or five aggregates are impermanent. Anyway, he can reflect on impermanence as he has already heard. In Buddha's time, sometimes we can see there were some ascetic people who also had the same experience in the jhana level. One day, some monks went to another monastic place. At that moment, other religious ascetics asked that, Bhante, your teacher, Supreme Buddha explains jhana, reducing hindrances based on concentration. Your teacher, the Buddha, explains the path. We also explain the same thing. What is the difference between your teacher and our teachings? At that moment, those monks had no answer. They were silent. And after they came back to the Buddha, they explained everything what happened to them. Then Buddha says, at that moment, you had to ask that what their final goal. If you heard that, if you asked that, they would be silent. Buddha says, we have a final goal. Based on concentration, we practice Vipassana Bhāvanā. Buddha explains it very clearly. Accompanied by Metta Bhāvanā, with concentration, we practice Sati Sambojjhanga, the enlightenment factor of mindfulness, based upon Viveka-nisitam, Viraga-nisitam, Nirodha-nisitam, Vassagga Parinami, based upon seclusion, dispassion, cessation, and maturing release. We practice Samatha Bhāvanā for our last goal, based upon seclusion, dispassion, cessation, maturing release. The Buddha's disciple practices the seven enlightenment factors. Sati Sambojjhanga, Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga, Virya Sambojjhanga, so on. This is very important thing. The Buddha says very special thing. As the result of practicing this insight meditation, he has a very special result. What is that? If he wants to dwell perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive, he can dwell therein. If he wants to dwell perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive, he can dwell therein. If that person wants to dwell perceiving the repulsive in the repulsive and unrepulsive, he can dwell therein. And also, if that person wants to dwell perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive and unrepulsive, he can dwell like that. Not only that, if that person wants to dwell perceiving equanimity, avoiding the repulsive and unrepulsive, he can dwell equanimously. This is the highest result of practicing Dhamma. The repulsive and unrepulsive in the outside world. That is the nature of our life. We do all activities. We find pleasant and unpleasant things in the outside world. From our birth to death, from morning to going to bed, in 4 postures, we do everything for changing the outside world. When we come to the Dhamma, without changing anything in the external world, just changing our perception, we can associate the world as we like. How beautiful. When we meet something which is unpleasant, if we want to change the perception inside, we can change the perception, we can change the world. But we should have practiced this path to the maximum level for that. This is the experience of Arahantas actually. We also can do it in some levels by practicing Dhamma, especially by living in the mindfulness. We also can achieve some kind of results in this level. Not only that, when we reflect on impermanence arising and ceasing in the external world with our 5 aggregates, avoiding the repulsive and unrepulsive, the pleasant and unpleasant things, reflecting on impermanence arising and ceasing, we can immediately come to equanimity. When we see that the world has already ceased, we come to equanimity. Our mind has no space in order to depend on. When the sunrise comes from the east direction, if there is something in the west direction on the floor, that sunrise depends on the flow or something. If not, there is water, that depends on the water. If there is some wall, that sunrise comes to the wall. If there is no anything in the west direction, there is no shadow. Like that. When we see something, when we hear something, when we smell something, if we know very well that everything in the external world has already ceased, and also my mind also that I recognize this reality, that also arises and ceases at the moment. Then consciousness has no space to depend on. Then we immediately come to equanimity. Here we should understand rapture and equanimity can be seen in the mundane level and supramundane level. Mundane level, as the result of practicing Samadhi, we can see vitakka, vichara, there we can see piti, sukha, ekaggata. When we come to the 4th jhana, we can see upekha, ekaggata. In jhanas, we can see rapture and upekha. But those things, those spiritual states depend on the mundane level truth. Based on this state, we come to the highest spiritual level in the seven enlightenment factors. There we can see piti and upekha, rapture and equanimity. There are piti sambojjhanga and upekha sambojjhanga. The enlightenment factor of rapture and the enlightenment factor of equanimity. That rapture and equanimity based on the ultimate truth in the supramundane level. With the understanding of arising and ceasing of five aggregates. Every moment the five aggregates, rupa, form, vedana, sensations, sanya, perception, sankhara, mental formations, and vijnana, consciousness. These aggregates arise at the moment, they cease when conditions cease. When we see this reality, we gradually come to equanimity. Until our final destination, we practice this path again and again. We can go forward with happiness since we can see the results. Dhamma is well expounded by the Blessed One. How Buddha explained this Dhamma as 𝒮𝓾 well expounded. Ādi kalyanam, madhya kalyanam, pariyosane kalyanam. Excellent is the beginning. Excellent is the middle. Excellent is the end. What is the beginning? Beginning is sila. That sila or virtue we practice without going to extremes as eternalism and nihilism, Sassatavada and Uchedavada. Samadhi or concentration. We concentrate our mind based on Sammāsamādhi and we immediately focus on impermanence. Samadhi is the middle and Panya, wisdom, is the end of this path. After fulfilling wisdom or Panya, we can see the results as vimukti and vimukti jnana, or understanding and liberation. This path has an order. Buddha's message is like the ocean or sea. You know, the ocean deepens gradually from the beach to the deeper water. Buddha's message also like that. We should practice this path for the vidya, vimukti, or understanding and liberation. If we want to attain understanding and liberation, we have to practice the seven enlightenment factors. If we want to practice seven enlightenment factors, we should have the foundation of practice, which is the fourfold mindfulnesses. For the fourfold mindfulnesses, we should have discipline in our speech, behavior and mind. Trivida Sucharita, the three good activities. For the three disciplines, we should have Indriya Samvara. Indriya Samvara, the discipline in senses. When we see something, when we hear something, when we smell something, we should have some kind of discipline on this path. For this discipline, we should have sati sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. For sati sampajanya, we should have yoniso manasikara, wise consideration. For wise consideration, we should have confidence. What is the confidence? About this path, about the arising and cessation of suffering, we should be confident. What the Buddha taught. How suffering arises, how suffering ceases. The Buddha says very clearly, this is not the Buddha's creation. This is his discovery. Whether a Buddha appears or not in this world, this truth is forever. This is an eternal truth. We respect the Buddha because he himself realized this message in this eon, and also he proclaimed this message to the world. That is why we respect him. That is why we say this message as Buddhism or Buddha's message. But this message doesn't belong to even Buddha. This is the eternal truth. And also here we have confidence in this practice. If you have confidence in this message, it means we give the priority for practice. We do all our day-to-day activities giving the priority to our practice. We keep it in the highest level in our schedule. First, we have Sutta Panya, the wisdom of hearing. Then we have Chintame Panya, the wisdom of contemplating on. And Bhāvanā Panya, the wisdom of meditation as Samatha and Vipassana. For confidence in the Dhamma, we should listen to Dhamma. Listening to Dhamma is very important. We should be carefully listening to Dhamma, and also when we listen to Dhamma, we should know whether this message helps me to understand the world, and whether this message helps me to overcome suffering. Here we should understand very special thing. Uppada Nirodha and Anuppada Nirodha. The cessation of which is already arisen, and the cessation which is not arisen. Uppada Nirodha and Anuppada Nirodha. This is the very important thing. Uppada Nirodha means there is a world around us. One day it may change, it may be broken. Already we have created that world, and also we think they are subject to change. They are subject to change. Actually, that is very easy to understand. Even scientists divided in atoms, they have discovered it very clearly. In the labs, they do it. Viparinama, the changing, can be understood by anyone. That is the Uppada Nirodha, the cessation which is already arisen. Firstly, they take something as permanent, as there is something in the outside world. Then they think it can be changed. It is changing. That can be understood by anyone. You know, before the Buddha, as a prince, when he was going to the park with his minister 𝐁𝐮𝐝𝐝, he understood Ledek Mahallek Malaminya. Sick person, old person, and dead body. The Bodhisattva saw it. He knew the changing. he knew people are going to old age, sickness, death. Before he did his great renunciation, after he attained in Buddhahood, enlightenment, in his first sermon, Buddha says, Pubbe anunusutesu dhammesu 𝒶𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃. I realized something which I had never heard. Buddha says, I realized when I attained enlightenment that I had never heard. That is not changing, that is impermanence. What is impermanence? When causes are together, there is something here. Immediately they cease at the moment. Ahutva sambhutam hutva nabhavisati. It comes, it arises at the moment and immediately ceases at the moment. Not being occurred comes to occurrence, being occurred will not go to occurrence. The very present experience didn't come to the present from the past. The present experience will not go to future from the present. The present experience didn't come to the present from the past. The present experience will not go to future from the present. But the previous experience influenced the present moment, and the present moment will influence the next moment. But everything is impermanent, arising and ceasing at the moment. Anupada Nirodha means when we see this reality, we don't find anything in the outside world. That is the Anupada Nirodha. We definitely see the cessation of causes or reasons or conditions inside. Then we don't find anything in the outside world. 𝒮𝑇 ℒ𝒶𝓃 ℒ𝒶 ℮ රූප සංඥංච 𝒮𝑇 Wherever mentality and corporeality cease without remaining anything, that is the end of suffering. ශුඤ්ඤතෝ ලෝකං අවිපස්සෝ. The Arahanta sees the world as empty. This is the Anupada Nirodha. All the world experience the Upada Nirodha, the cessation of which is already arisen. There are something in the world, they are subject to decay, they are subject to sickness, they think that. Saddha should be here. Saddha arises because of listening to Dhamma. Listening to Dhamma depends on the good association, noble association. When we have good friendship, we listen to Dhamma. When we listen to Dhamma, we are confident in the Dhamma. When we are confident in Dhamma, we have yoniso manasikara, wise consideration. When we have wise consideration, we have sati sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. When we have sati sampajanya, we have indriya samvara, the discipline in senses. When we have indriya samvara, the discipline in senses, we have trividha sucharita, the discipline in our speech, behavior and our mind. When we have these three disciplines, immediately we come to the path which is the Noble Eightfold Path based on Samma, Sati, right mindfulness. Here we practice fourfold mindfulnesses. When we practice mindfulness, all the spiritual faculties gradually cultivate. But we should practice this pattern yatha buddhena desita, according to how Buddha explained. We should confident in Buddha's message, the Tripitaka, Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. 3 baskets. We have a lot of reference in these books, having this understanding. When we practice mindfulness or fourfold mindfulness, then the 7 enlightenment factors gradually develop. Sati Sambojjhanga, Dhammavicaya Sambojjhanga, Viriya, Piti, Passaddhi, Samadhi, and finally Upekkha Sambojjhanga, the enlightenment factor of equanimity. On this path, when we go forward, gradually we come to Vidya Vimukti, understanding and liberation. What is the understanding? We understand the Four Noble Truths again and again. Dukkha Satyam Parinyayam, the noble truth of suffering should be understood, which is the 5 aggregates. Samudaya Satyam Pahatabbang, the noble truth of the origin of suffering should be overcome. What is that? Avidya, bhavatanha, ignorance, and the clinging to the process of becoming. And Nirodha Satyam Satyakatabbam, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering should be realized, which is Vidya Vimukti, understanding and liberation. And Magga Satyam Bhavitabbam, the noble truth of the path that leads to getting rid of suffering should be cultivated, should be developed, which is Samathoja Vipassana, or the concentration and insight meditation. Our spiritual success depends on the duration of practicing the concentration and insight meditation. In short, practicing Metta Bhāvanā and Ānāpānasathi Bhāvanā. Very special thing, when we practice Dhamma, we purify our mind. The more we purify our mind, the more we are happy. The more we are happy, the more we are encouraged into practice Dhamma. We are motivated. The results are visible, immediately effective. And also especially we have been discussing the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha says, Ujjuko nama somaggo abheha nama sadhisa. This is the fearless path. This is the direct path. While we are fulfilling our duties and responsibilities in our day-to-day life, without any problem, we can practice it. This is the easiest way how we live in this world. When we practice this path, actually we don't have problems. Whenever we go away from this path, we have to face a lot of problems. This is the path like the, red carpet. Whenever we practice the Noble Eightfold Path, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, Even when we go away from Samma Vaca, Samma Kammanta or Samma Jiva, what happened to us? We may go to jail. We are here. We are not in the jail because of practicing Samma Vaca and Samma Kammanta and Samma Vayama, Samma Ajiva. If not, where we are in? You can understand. Not only that, dear friends, when we practice this path, we are honored at home, we are honored in the society. Even though others don't respect us, we know our mind, we respect ourselves. We don't need any respect from the outside world. We know who I am. We know our minds. We see our pure mind. We respect our mind. We respect this physical body. We respect even our clothes, even our devices that we use. We see everything with great respect, since these devices are used by this person who is practicing Dhamma. We respect the Arhantas. Why do we respect them? Because they practice this path. After they pass away, we take some parts of their physical body, we keep them in some casket, and we respect, we worship it. Why do we do it? Because they practice this path and they have received the results. How, after we die, what happens to our body? Do your children like to keep your body at home for a long time? After your cremation, do they like to keep that box for pot even one day? No, they don't take. No, I don't keep it at home. But you have dedicated your entire life for your children, for your properties, for your relatives. But as soon as you will die, within 1 hour, you have to go from your home. If you die in the evening, as soon as they call 911, then you have to go away from your home. Fortunately, if you die at midnight, you can stay until morning. Fortunately. But if not, as soon as you die, you have to go away. You should understand it. You should be a valuable person. We should think what value our life is. Even though our children are well educated, although we have helped them a lot, although we have a lot of money, actually our life is not valuable. The value of our life completely depends on our spiritual life. How much we have cultivated, developed our mind with this path, with the Noble Eightfold Path. That is why we should practice this path as much as we can. Especially when we come to the last moment, the last bed, we should have something that should be realized. If not, we are helpless. Before that, again and again, we have to understand this message and we have to practice this path, the Noble Eightfold Path. When we practice the Noble Eightfold Path, all the spiritual faculties gradually increase. When we practice Sammāsamādhi, fourfold mindfulnesses gradually increase. 7 enlightenment factors gradually increase. When we practice Sammādiṭṭhi, wisdom gradually increases. When we practice Sammāvāyāma, right effort, Sammāpadhāna viriya gradually increase. When we practice right intention, we practice nekkhamma saṅkappa and avyapada saṅkappa, especially we practice metta bhāvanā there. So on, dear friends, we should maintain, we should conduct our entire life focus on this Noble Eightfold Path, the path of happiness, the spiritual path, the direct path, the fearless path, the Noble Eightfold Path. For that, I wish you all the best. By the power of listening and practicing this message, we acquired a lot of wholesome energy, spiritual energy. By the power of this spiritual energy, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May all your spiritual and educational goals meet with success, and finally, all of us attain the supreme bliss of liberation. Dukkham pantāca nirdukkhaṃ, bhayam pantāca nirbhayam, sokam pantāca nissokam, hontu sambe pipānino. May all beings be well, happy and peaceful. May all your wishes meet with success. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.